Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my channel English Superstars. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Today we are going to talk about semantic ambiguity, anomaly, presupposition, entailment, euphemism versus dysphemism, and contradiction. So in this short video you are going to learn a lot of concepts today. So let's begin. Semantic ambiguity. It is an idea or situation that can be understood in more than one ways. This extends from ambiguous sentences, which could mean one thing or another, up to the ambiguous storylines and arguments. Ambiguity refers to something having multiple possible meanings, means having more than one meaning. Semantic ambiguity occurs when a word, phrase, or sentence has more than one possible meaning and it's unclear which meaning is intended. So ambiguity is taken from the word ambiguous, that a reader is unable to understand what is the meaning of a certain sentence or a word, because that word carries or that sentence carries a lot of interpretations. Let's see some examples. She likes to keep bats. Now here it's written she likes to keep bats. Now which bats are we talking about? Are we talking about the sports equipment bats or the bats that fly in the sky? Which one are we talking about? I saw an elephant wearing trousers. Now it's completely hilarious and at the same time ambiguous sentence. How? I saw an elephant wearing trousers. Now who was wearing trousers? Was that the elephant who was wearing trousers? Or the person the person who is looking at the elephant, that person is wearing trousers. So it's unclear, it's ambiguous. The girl bought a candle with a card. Now, the girl bought a candle, that is clear, with a card. Now, was that candle having a card on its top? Right? Like a greeting card? Or she bought a candle with an ATM card, like she paid through a card. You getting it? So it's ambiguous. Now let's talk about anomaly. So you will get to know a clear difference between ambiguity and anomaly. Semantic anomaly refers to a situation where the meaning of a word or phrase doesn't fit with the context in which it is used, creating an inconsistency or unexpected twist. Now imagine you're reading or listening to something and suddenly there's a part that doesn't make sense, seems kind of weird. That's semantic anomaly. It's like when words or ideas don't match up the way you expect them to be. It's a surprise because it doesn't fit with what you thought would happen or what actually makes sense. So anomaly is taken from the word that completely doesn't make sense. It's senseless, nonsensical. Let's see some examples. The talking sandwich told me a joke. Now, the moment you read this sentence in a novel, in a short story, in a comic book, in a newspaper, anywhere at all, you'll be like, wait, what? Talking sandwich, how's that possible? Yes, that's right. Sometimes we give human qualities to non-human things as well. That's the way of saying when we use simile or metaphors. That's fine. But when you're taking it in an argument, it doesn't make sense, like it's impossible. So that is semantic anomaly. Sandwiches don't usually talk or tell jokes, so it feels a bit strange. Now another example is the colorless green grass. Colorless, when it's already colorless written, then how can it be green? Two adjectives used in quite opposite manner. Colorless and green at the same time. If it's green, how is it colorless? And if it's colorless, it cannot be green. Now the oval triangle. Now, a triangle has three sides. It cannot be oval, right? So the moment you see sentences or phrases like these, you say it's utterly nonsense. So nonsensical sentences or the sentences that do not make sense to you are referring to semantic anomaly. Whereas ambiguity refers to being ambiguous. Ambiguous means it can mean this or that. It does not mean that it's nonsense. It means that it can carry multiple meanings. So remember, anomaly versus ambiguity. Let's move forward. Presupposition. Well, the word itself tells you that it is an assumption or belief, an implicit assumption or belief that is taken for granted or assumed to be true by the speaker. So taken for granted or already assumed to be true by the speaker, often forming the background or foundation of a statement. Now it's something that the speaker expects the audience to accept. For example, if there's a title Mrs. written, so you presuppose that the person is married. You don't need to ask. Okay, let's take an example. I regret eating that cake. Now, the presupposition is that they did indeed eat the cake. Alright, regret eating means the speaker has already eaten. The statement relies on the assumption that the listener understands the background information. Yes. Alright, coming towards entailment. Now remember here, presupposition, you presuppose something is true. Alright, for example, I say John sold his house, so you presuppose that he had a house. Alright, moving towards entailment. It is like a must-have rule in language. If a sentence entails something, it means if the sentence is true, then something else related to it must also be true. So it has statement A and B. Alright, if A is said to be true, then B is absolutely true. So it's like that. John finished his ice cream means on the first place he had an ice cream. So you're going to get two sentences, and it's like a package deal that if one thing is true, something else connected to it has to be true too. So entailment entails two sentences. If one statement is said to be true, the other one has to be true as well. Alright, so understand the difference between the two. Moving forward, euphemism. Euphemism is a way of saying something harsh or unpleasant in a softer, more gentle or polite manner. Sometimes you say the same thing and somebody might say, oh, you're rude. And you might say the same thing by changing the word, and the other one might laugh at that because he doesn't feel that way that it's rude. Why? Because of the choice of words. So it's like using a nicer or softer word to talk about something that might be a bit uncomfortable. Instead of saying he passed away, which is euphemism for dying, people use it to make the idea of death sound gentler and less direct. Instead of saying that he died or he's no more, people say he passed away. It's a polite way of saying it. Saying that you are having a wheatish complexion is better than saying that you are black, right? Similarly, instead of saying, there was a very famous joke on that as well. A person said to another one that you're fat. And the person said, no, don't be rude. I'm not fat. I'm just chubby. So you see, these kind of words give a softer and nicer kind of an impression. Let's move forward. Dysphemism. It's quite exact opposite of euphemism. Instead of using a milder or softer or nicer or pleasant word, it involves using a harsh, blunt tone to describe something. It's like breaking someone's heart. Dysphemisms are often used to express strong opinions, add emphasis, or convey a more negative tone. But they can also be considered impolite or offensive. Alright, that movie was a total disaster. Now, total disaster? Instead of saying that movie was not so great, the movie was not great, I didn't enjoy that much. Instead of saying it was total disaster, it's a blunt way of saying it. It's a strong way of saying it. So that is the harsh way of saying something. That is dysphemism. So what's the difference between the two? Euphemism aims to have soften or make something more socially acceptable, whereas dysphemism emphasizes negativity of harshness. Euphemism tends to have a gentler and considerate tone, keeping someone's heart, whereas dysphemism is more blunt, rude, overly critical, and breaking someone's heart. Instead of saying he's fired, euphemism might be he's being let go or his position is being eliminated, right? Instead of saying he's been fired, whereas in dysphemism, instead of saying she's old, a dysphemism might be she's ancient. Now, ancient is quite impolite way of saying somebody something. That you're ancient means you're very, very old. This adds a more negative and exaggerated tone to the description. I hope you understand that. Moving towards our last term for the day, contradictions. Contradiction, contradictory. when two statements or idea cannot both be true at the same time. Remember, in entailment, A and B are coinciding. If A is said to be true, then B is said to be true as well. Whereas in contradiction, in two statements, A and B, only one can be true at the same time. It's like saying one thing and then saying something that goes against it. For example, I say, I passed my test, but I failed miserably. So if I passed it, how did I fail? Right? One of it has to be true. Statement is written, it's daytime. Contradiction is nighttime. So daytime and nighttime cannot come together. These two statements contradict each other because if it's daytime, it cannot be nighttime at the same time. So just the way I said, passed and failed at the same time is wrong. Similarly, if you say something, I cannot carry it because it's too heavy. Oh, but it's light as well. Light and heavy at the same time, it cannot be possible. Something that is light and something can be heavy, they are two different things. So contradiction means two statements and only one can be true at the same time. Conclusion. Now, semantics is a cornerstone of linguistics. Remember, semantics deal with the meaning of languages and words. A natural language process delves into how language conveys meaning. It covers formal, lexical, and conceptual aspects, studying the deep interplay between grammar structures and conveyed ideas. If you have not watched my previous videos, go to my channel and watch the videos on semantics, lexical and grammatical semantics so that you'll get a clear idea about it. In grammatical semantics, it examines word meanings, sentences, interpretation, lexical connections, presupposition, and truth conditions. This field doesn't analyze linguistic elements only, but also reveals the complexities of ambiguity, anomalies, entailment, euphemism, dysphemism, contradiction, and the intricate web of semantic connections that shape human condition and that shape our language, that shape our way of communicating with others. I hope you enjoyed the videos. If you like it, give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below if there is anything else that you need me to explain. Have a very nice day. Allah Hafiz.